11, 5.
What's going on, everyone? I'm Jaren, and today we are talking about 28 years later. In this story, we follow a group of survivors of the rage virus on a small island, and when one of the group leaves for a mission on the mainland, he discovers wonders, secrets, and horrors that have mutated not only the infected, but the other survivors out there. The original creatives, director Danny Boyle and writer Alex Garland, return to Ground Zero to deliver us the long-awaited third chapter to 28 Days Later. Now, if I'm going to be honest, I didn't get into this franchise until a little bit later. I ended up watching 28 Weeks Later, and I was so excited about it that I needed to go back and watch the first movie, but I didn't necessarily get to appreciate it at the time because I just wanted a straightforward zombie movie. The original 2002 classic went on to influence iconic blockbusters, video games, and even TV shows, especially when it comes down to running zombies. Heck, you could even say that The Walking Dead Season 1, especially that first episode, completely rips off the first 30 minutes of 28 Days Later. And before a lot of you get smart with me, 28 Days Later did come out far over a year before The Walking Dead graphic novel got published. It's funny because the creators of The Last of Us consider 28 Days Later as a really big influence on their part, whereas the TV show itself really was an inspiration for Boyle and Garland to get back together, really driven to write and direct another installment, really bringing that full circle. And seeing the first trailer drop, I was anticipating this as my highly favored movie to look forward to of the year 2025. With every single time it came up in front of the trailers of every movie I went out to the theaters for, my mind just kept rolling on what ideas they had in stored. Now, I haven't seen every single project in their filmography between Danny Boyle and Alex Garland, but with what I know about their filmmaking, they have a tendency to lean really against the grain when it comes to Hollywood norms. And seeing that a lot of critics and casual audiences were completely divided on their takeaway, after seeing the film for myself, I can honestly say that I absolutely love this movie and the big, bold swings that they decided to take. Getting into the technical specs, seeing how the first movie is very well known to have used the earliest models of digital cameras, a lot of intrigue was raised when people found out that they were going to be using iPhone 15 cameras for production. And I swear they captured magic in a bottle because it really looked good. I mean, really consistently enhanced with the style of the O2 version. The Blackmagic app was a huge contributor to how Boyle was able to utilize the iPhone cameras to its full potential, especially when you consider the angle work and the picture quality. It was great to see how a lot of the grain and focus really affected each and every frame. Also, if you had the chance to see the pictures online where they had that huge C-shaped rig where a lot of the iPhone cameras are lined up, and I thought it was a jarring experience to see the final product with that artistic choice. Many times than none, we would get scenes where the infected would get shot and struck by arrows, and then there would be this 180-degree snapshot where the scene would start out in one angle and then finish in another. Splicing in footage of war, pop culture, and a little bit of the life that the survivors have built for themselves felt a little bit on the nose, but I thought it offered some thought-provoking parallels, especially when they pair it with the haunting audio of the Boots poem. I also especially like some of the elements where we got some of that red night vision, where we would see the infected pretty much being animalistic, being primal, and just attacking in the wilderness. Now, before we get into the meat of the story, the talent, and even a lot of the choices that were pretty much stirring up the critics and casual viewers, I want to say that it is one thing to watch trailers and have a certain expectations about said film. Then it's one thing to not watch trailers, not know what to expect, and really just go for the ride. And in this case, after we hit the 30-minute mark, I was completely stunted with the fork in the road where my expectations and curiosity were about to veer off too. First and foremost, it is important to note that while you are 3 installments into this franchise, you are not going to be getting your straightforward zombie blockbuster. And the horror elements, they're pretty much present, but this is more of a coming-of-age story that embraces a much more profound and emotional journey. There were tremendous performances all around. So getting to some of the talent here, we've got Alfie Williams, who plays Spike. A lot of the narrative really rests on his shoulders, while he significantly sells the emotion of fear and resilience while growing up in this post-apocalyptic world. We've seen stories where children, kids, follow into their parents' footsteps, their legacy, but in here, Spike is reluctant to leave his childhood behind. And everything that Williams as an actor really goes through in this story really showcases his range, especially how he is capable of holding his own, especially when it comes to the dynamical scenes that has Jodie Comer and Aaron Taylor Johnson. Taylor Johnson plays Spike's father, Jamie, and he's very strong-headed about his son earning his rite of passage to become the youngest and bravest warrior and provider of their community. But when Spike uncovers that his father isn't the role model that he grew to know, their indifferences become a wedge in their relationship. Comer plays Spike's mother, Isla, and she is bedridden with an illness that is slowly chipping away at her sanity, and her only chance at a solution is if her son is capable of escorting her safely across the rage-infected mainland and to find a doctor. It is no secret that Ralph Fiennes is the quirky Dr. Kelson. They showcase him here in the trailers, and I just love how they refer to him as this terrifying legend in the first half of the movie, and then when he is once introduced, he is just completely the opposite about what they expected. There's this Swedish soldier named Eric, played by Edvin Riding, who pretty much encounters Spike and Isla on their adventure and pretty much adds a lot of levity to the second act. And I gotta say, the interaction between Spike and Eric, especially with the culture shock between them, about swapping information about what they know about the world and society outside of the quarantine zone after all these years, was just hilarious. Last but not least, despite the amount of unwarranted dong that might poke you in the eye, I thought what they did with the infected over time was rather interesting. Other than the typical rage zombies that have been rotting and withering away and could still possibly run, I like that they introduced like a few new factions, especially one that's kind of a sluggish infected, where these oversized creatures would just be crawling all over the place, very quietly, very stealth-like. The most terrifying and most naked one being the Alpha, which has a way of communicating and leading a pack of the infected, all the while being cunning and overpowering in their attacks. There's also this biological element that is going to really question and divide a lot of the audiences between Act 2 and 3, and I personally thought that it was an interesting conversation to the lore. Overall, where the story leads, did not expect to tear up, but a lot of the emotional beats really hit home for me. And I can totally understand that a lot of people are going to hate this movie, or they're going to love it depending on what you took away from this. I mean, those final 30 minutes were just a drastic tonal shift where it was something that could be completely ripped out of a Power Rangers episode. And although this movie does have a lot of familiar tropes that have been very much popular in this genre over the years, a lot of it worked for me, and that's why I loved it. Well, alright guys, that's all I got to share about that movie. Go ahead and check it out if you want. Look forward to more reviews. I'm Jaren Nagbanawa. Again, I want to thank you guys again for taking some time out of your day to hear me talk some movies. I'll see you guys at the theater. Take care.